less or more. I am not so sure, but I guess the wisdom of my senses will explore and then assess the score with a superior.
For years I've been aware of this bizarre contradiction in myself that I want somehow to get known for alerting the world to its impending end, or for being a herald of the apocalypse. Somehow I want to make a name for myself by heralding the apocalypse. Now, I'm not really heralding the apocalypse anymore, at least not in such an overt way, but still, I mean, the absurd irony of that position hopefully speaks for itself. So, without necessarily going into all the psychodynamics of that, maybe I will get into them, maybe I won't, I'm going to read the pitch for this new book, Maps of Hell, which I subtitled The Hollywood Occupation of the Global Psyche. I keep changing the title and the subtitle, and I keep trying to package it in such a way that will make it acceptable to publishers. And this varies depending on who I'm speaking to, or who I'm imagining, whose mind I'm theorizing about. But anyway, this was the latest title and subtitle, and this is the latest description of it. The transformative effect of visual media on human consciousness has been easily as great as that of the printing press, nor has this transformation been undirected. For decades, a shadowy cultural elite has been applying the evolving media technology to shape the global psyche and occupy the landscape of our own conscious. Since the early days of Hollywood propaganda, their manufactured narratives have spilled over the edges of the movie screen into politics, science, academia, and journalism, slowly stripping us of our sense of reality and robbing us of all values besides Hollywood values. Now in 2020, the screen tech has reached the state of the art, making separating entertainment from entrainment all but impossible. Without ever fully recognizing it, we have been seduced into complicity with an imagistic empire, lured into mass infantilization and cultural enthrallment, and afflicted with an as yet undiagnosed condition of propaganda derangement syndrome. Fortunately, in our struggle to awaken, features of the nightmare landscape have begun to creep into view. Maps of Hell combines in-depth Hollywood case studies with acute cultural analysis to assemble a lens through which the dark underlay of the entertainment industry and its true purpose can be seen. By closely mapping our collectively assembled societal hell, it offers the means to extract ourselves from the enchantments of a dark technological sorcery. It's going to be a difficult book for some people, for many people, not because it's so complex or so intellectual, but because what it's arguing is so unpalatable. I recently have been reading Jacques Ellul's Propaganda, and he makes a very interesting point I'll blog about soon, or just blog excerpts from the book, that we need propaganda. Human beings are addicted to propaganda, and that propaganda, there's a necessity for propaganda not only on the part of the state, but on the part of we the people as well, because I won't go into the complexities of it, but essentially we need something that gives us a sense of meaning and purpose now in life, because we've become so much aware of being part of a collective, and yet so reified as individuals that our own sense of meaninglessness is overwhelming in that context. Like, if the individual is all important, if we are all important, and yet at the same time we only really know ourselves as part of this mass collective, then we're constantly having our individuality reified and emphasized, while at the same time, within the context of its insignificance, then our existential terror is just increasing. And so we desperately need propaganda to give us a sense of meaning, purpose, and direction. So, and the more we take it, the more addicted we get to it, the more we need our propaganda. And I know this to be true in my own case, because as much as I discover and reveal to myself about Hollywood and the media, narrative media, I'm more acutely aware of how addicted to it, and not in a way that I'm stopping using it. I mean, maybe that time will come. I certainly hope so. But in the meantime, it's like I can't live without it. Although I can sum up the thesis, and I did in the summation, I'm trying to pitch it. Of course, I'm doing that, and although it can be done, it's not really possible, because there's various ways of trying to describe this. The one I've used in my pitch is, look, these are the Ray-Ban glasses from They Live. If you put them on, if you read this book, you will see society as it really is. I won't say reality, it's not going to get you enlightened, but you will see society as it is, at least while you're wearing them, at least while you're reading the book, because that's how it was for me, writing it and reading it back, like, oh my God, we're surrounded by ghouls. The whole of society is somehow a matrix, a confluence of forces that we think of as culture, but really is propaganda. And we're just moving through a propagandized medium of awareness. It's a sorcerer's realm. It's been engineered through sorcery, and yet the nature of the sorcery is that we're the batteries. Our consciousness is used as the raw material to shape the world and to create the propaganda, the narratives that then imbue us with meaning and purpose and action. They mobilize us into the way we live our lives. So we are the world that's been created, that's been pulled over our own eyes. And how do you turn that into a frickin' theory that can be summed up and understood, in a few lines or a few paragraphs or even a few chapters? It can't be done. It does bring it back to that. This is a strange thing, because clearly apparently there's tens or hundreds of thousands of people out there who are into Jan Irving and Jay Dyer and God knows how many other YouTube channelers who are talking about the kind of things I'm talking about. Dave McGowan, of course, he died. His book's selling very well. He's got loads of readers, Dave McGowan. You'd think all of those readers, all of them, would be interested in this book. But no, that's not the case. One can't just import one audience to, even if one can find them. So there's all those people, and then in the more mainstream realm, something like Edward Bernays and Jack Ellul. There are all kinds of books that are Adam Curtis that are popular in the mainstream. People are interested in what I'm doing, but somehow, because I'm trying to bring together two areas or two perspectives. One is the marginal perspective of reptilian conspiracy theories that is only respectable if it's fictionalized or made metaphor by They Live or the Matrix. This deep sorcerer's view of society that is only represented in a literal or a non-fictional fashion mostly by writers and communicators that I don't consider very good or very reliable, frankly, for various different reasons, which I won't get into. So there's that world. I'm not particularly persona grata in that world, because I'm really questioning those narratives. And then, on the other hand, yes, there's the more respected intelligentsia, and I'm actually trying to reach those people, because I figure this other area, they're too easy to please. So the challenge is can I present something that even Guardian readers would be able to follow along with and understand and believe? Because, to quote William Blake, nothing the truth that can be understood will always be believed. And I do cite the Guardian a lot in this book. Like, I go to as much as possible to sources that are mainstream and that are considered reliable, even though, ironically, the case I'm making is that you can't trust any of these sources. And I know that in this other field, audience base, quoting the Guardian is that's not a reliable source, because it's part of the conspiracy. It's part of the propaganda machinery. And of course I think it is, but, well, it's complicated. It's complicated because actually the standard of reporting and of writing and of analysis and so on is better over here in the mainstream for the Guardian readers and academic presses and so on than it is over here in David Icke land. Now, there are exceptions. And I guess I'm trying to be one of those exceptions. It was meant to be the coffin on the lid, the last nail in the coffin of my hell map. So I could send it out for a burial by sea, so to speak. Like, okay, I've discovered for myself, or I've laid out for myself all the evidence I need to recognize the configuration of the hell within and without. So time to turn away, because it includes the exit. So let's just go through the exit and let's talk and write about something else. That was where I was hoping, that's where I am hoping to get to as of 2020, a new vision. And, well, I guess we all want closure. We all want a nice, tidy Hollywood ending. So yeah, I want this book to, to be effective, to feel fully satisfied that it has been delivered in the right way. Not some awful hospital birth that leaves the poor thing alone in its crib for 24 hours and traumatized and numb. And so, well, there's a parallel. I guess this book represents part of my psyche. I mean, it does, and so I'm re-experiencing that vulnerability of the potentially traumatic first encounter between my psyche and the world. Participatory democracy is something that's, I won't say it's never been tried. I think it used to be the nature of community. That's how communities used to function before the aggrandizers took over completely and created a global village, which is a global dictatorship with AI as the eye in the pyramid. And this is a limited hangout zone. The internet and the system of the world as is, and AI as our new overlord regulating our internal responses and mobilizing our every decision and action. That's a limited proposition. It's not going to, with or without peak oil or environmental collapse or climate change, it's not going to continue much longer. Well, at least that's my optimistic view, because if it were to, then I don't know if there'd be any hope for us. And I do believe there's hope for us, and I do believe that there's something within the human body and the human soul and in nature and in the world itself that intervenes at the point of no return, and that saves us from ourselves. There is a salvation mechanism to creation. I believe that. But if we get saved and we're not ready to turn away from the world that we need saving from, it's going to be very rude an awakening. And well, so be it if it is, but why not? If you know that somebody's going to come in and pour ice water on you in 5 minutes, why not just get up and make it a pleasant experience? That's my question for myself.
Process. Blissful abyss.
I'm not so sure.
Is this what we're waiting for?
I'm not so sure.
Blissful abyss.
Please don't tell me more.
Are we our own predator?
I'm not so sure.
Less or more? I am not so sure, but I guess the wisdom of my senses will explore and then assess the score with a superior.